from a play, and the play's name is Miss Julie. It is a play which is naturalistic, and it has been written in the year 1888 by August Strindberg. The plot: it is set in the Midsummer's Eve in an estate in the Count of Sweden. The young woman in this play is drawn to a senior servant, a valet or an attendant named Jean, who is particularly well-traveled, well-mannered, and well-read. Jean is the mayor's 30-year-old personal assistant chosen as Miss Julia's lover on Midsummer's Eve. In this monologue, Jean is speaking with Miss Julie. This is Jean, which I'm going to be portraying, and somewhere there is Miss Julie, who the audience cannot see. So the objective of this monologue is that I will not, while starting the monologue, will not be looking at the audience. Jean recounts a time when they were children and when he first saw her. He says he wanted nothing at that time but to play with her. And the monologue starts now. Jean, do you know how people in the high life look from the underworld? No, of course you don't. They look like hawks and look like eagles whose backs people seldom see, for they soar up high above. I lived in a hotel provided by the state with 7 brothers and sisters and a pig, out in a barren stretch where nothing grew, not even a tree. But from that window, I could see the Count's park walls with apple trees rising above them. That was the garden of paradise. And there stood many angry angels with flaming swords protecting them. But for all, and I found a way to the tree of life, and now you despise me. You say you don't, but you despise me all the same. No matter. One time, I entered the garden of paradise. It was to weed onion beads with my mother. Near the orchard stood a Turkish pavilion, shaded and overgrown, with jasmine and honeysuckle. I knew what it was used for, and I had never ever seen anything so beautiful. People passed, day in and day out. One day, the door was left open. I sneaked in and beheld the walls with pictures of kings and emperors, and there were red fringed curtains at the windows. Now you understand what I mean. I had never seen the castle, and now my thoughts leaped. And there they returned ever after, little by little, as longing came over me to experience for once the pleasure. Effin, I sneaked in, and I was bewildered. I heard someone coming. There was only one exit for the great folk, but for me there was another, and that I had to choose. Once out, I started to run. I started to scramble through the raspberry hedge, rushed over the strawberry bed, and came to a stop on the rose terrace. From there I saw a figure in a white dress and white slippers and stockings. It was you. I hid under the heap of weeds. Under, you understand, where the thistle pricked me and lay on the damp and on the rank earth. I gazed at you, walking among the roses, and I thought, if it is true that the thief on the cross could enter heaven and dwell among the angels, it was strange that a pauper child on God's earth could not go to the castle park and play with the countess's daughter. Oh, Miss Julie, a dog may lie on the couch of a countess, a horse may be caressed by a lady's hand, but a servant, yes, servant, sometimes there is enough in a man, whatever he be, to swing himself up in the world. But how often does that happen? But to return to the story, Do you know what I did? I ran down to the mill dam and threw myself and my clothes on and was pulled out and got a thrashing. But on the following Sunday, when all the family went to visit my grandmother, I contrived to stay at home. I scrubbed myself well and put on my best clothes, such as they were, and went to the church where I thought I might see you. I saw you. Then I went home with my mind made up to put an end to myself. But I wanted to do it so beautifully and without pain. Then I happened to remember the elderberry blossoms are poisonous. I knew where there was a big elderberry bush in full bloom, and I stripped it of the riches and made a bed of it in the oat bin. Have you ever noticed how smooth the glassy oats are? The glassy oats are as soft as a woman's arm. Well, I got in and I let down the cover. And you know what? I fell asleep. And when I awoke, I was very ill. But you know what? I did not die. As you see, what I wanted, I don't know. You were unattainable. But through the vision of you, I was made to realize how hopeless I was to even endeavor to rise above the conditions of my birth. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.